Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Playbook. Yours truly, Joe Trahan, with the great Ed Werder, Easy Ed, as I like to call him. And man, that name came to mind, Ed, because of how easy it was for Rico Dowdle to gain 183 yards, a franchise record, 239 yards from scrimmage for the Carolina Panthers. Easy does it for Rico Dowdle after all that smack talk. After letting the Cowboys know that they should buckle up, and all the Cowboys defense did instead was just buckle, and they buckled, and they buckled again. It was ridiculous to watch. And you know, I do feel bad for Cowboys fans, right? Especially when you look at what's happened in this season on the whole. When Micah Parsons gets traded right before the beginning of this football season, Cowboys fans were sold on the fact that, hey, listen, part of the reason we're doing this is we want to be better against the run. Well, they're not. They're not better against anything, and it's hard to watch, and it's hard to, I've racked my brain looking for solutions, and I want to be, positive in terms of, all right, here's what you can do. Where do you go next? Ed, it's hard to find any solutions when a defense has been beaten this soundly in so many different ways.
Well, and especially when, Rico Dowdle was an entirely average player for 5 years after signing with the Cowboys as an undrafted player, became last year the first 1,000-yard rusher in Cowboys history among undrafted players. They chose not to sign him. They gave his money and his roster spot to Javonte Williams, who was off to an incredible start yesterday. But are they this bad on defense, or did they misjudge Rico Dowdle's capabilities to this degree? Because if that's Rico Dowdle that we've seen the last 2 weeks, he should be on your team, right?
Yeah.
After 5 years of having him on your roster, if that's him, you should have seen this coming. You should have had him on your football team. I mean, he looked like Emmitt Smith yesterday. But I tend to think it's the two defenses that he's played.
I totally agree.
Played a really significant role in the success. But to have him come out and publicly challenge them for a week, a whole week he did this. It wasn't just one little slip of the tongue. He did it for a whole week. And for them not to respond to the challenge, to get blown off the ball on almost every time he touched it, for him to wind up with the most carries in NFL history by a player in his first appearance against his former team. Any player at any position. No wide receivers ever done this. No quarterback. No running back. They were disgraced yesterday with the way they played. And I thought it was going to be interesting to see what the fallout is going to be. I mean, for the second time this season, we've heard Brian Schottenheimer talk about making scheme changes, personnel changes. But he was adamant for the second straight day that he's not going to change defensive coordinators. I don't know if that's up to him or not, but he's protected Matt Eberflus 2 days in a row after this terrible defensive start to the season.
Yeah, and he kind of made that impassioned plea saying, hey, listen, I've been in that position as a coordinator when things aren't working and things are tough and you're trying to figure things out and rack your brain to get to, what will work and nothing seemingly does. And he said he's going to stick with him. And I guess we'll take him at his word, because again, when I do think along those lines, I think about, the rest of the coaching staff that's under him, Ed, not particularly experienced. I mean, is there someone else in the building that could even ascend that you would have some faith in to try and turn things around? I think, and again, I was joking with Glenn Stretch Smith with Coach last night when we were waiting to go on Sports Special. All right, when's the defensive analyst? When's the consultant, the defensive consultant coming in, and who's that going to be?
Well, it's not going to be Rex Ryan, I don't think.
I think you're right.
He'd probably take the job, but he'd want to be the head coach. And he and Schottenheimer obviously worked together before in New York when Rex was the head coach and Schotty was the offensive coordinator. And those teams won with defense. But if you're Schottenheimer, you don't want a big personality like that coming in on your staff. I think that part of this with I'm really confused by the whole thing. I don't know how this is such a problem all these weeks later. They had an entire offseason, they had training camp, they had preseason games, had 6 regular season games with essentially all of their players except DeMarvion and Overshown, right? It had to be a shock to the staff when they traded Micah Parsons, when they were expecting to game plan everything around him defensively, using his versatility, his pass rush. But how do the Cowboys hire back a guy in Matt Eberflus who was here for 7 years on Rod Marinelli's staff and not be able to project the players they have and the players they can acquire into that system when they've known it so well? Rod Marinelli ran it for 7 years. It's essentially the same thing. I just don't understand how there can be this enormous disconnect between this group of players and this coaching staff. And yet it sounds from listening to Stephen Jones and Brian Schottenheimer like they're going to try to appease some of these players who want to play a different style. I assume that starts with Trayvon Diggs at corner, that they want to play man-to-man. That's where they've known success. That's how they became, NFL interception leaders. But if that's not the scheme, I don't know how they reconcile all this.
Well, if that's not the scheme, because it's not, like you said, I mean, we saw the scheme with Coach Marinelli, and he made it work. Tough at times back then too. But here's the thing, Ed, and I think it goes back to this. It takes discipline. It takes mental and physical discipline. And the Cowboys defense showed next to none in that ball game.
It's been like that all year, right? I mean, they don't rush the passer. They don't tackle in the running game. They don't cover downfield. They don't communicate. I mean, Schottenheimer told us 3 weeks ago that this was an easy fix and a 1-week solution. This isn't going to be a multi-week problem. And here we are, still achingly unresolved.
No, and I just think that's the hard part for me, getting over the fact that when you get challenged like that, the way they did, and I know the NFL doesn't, it's not a bulletin board league, but still, you thought that you were good enough that you didn't have to be or give 100% mentally and physically to play just because you had 5 sacks against a Jets team that had minus 10 yards passing yesterday. You're that mentally weak, and that's the problem I have, because I think when it comes to being disciplined enough to play this scheme, that's part of it. You have to be mentally disciplined, and that's part of the reason that this team has struggled so much. Players don't want to do it. They don't have the wherewithal. They're not putting in the work, and it just comes out in the wash. And listen, even with that being said about their mentality, the physicality was just shocking. I mean, Marshawn Nealon getting boat raced 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage by a tight end.
How many times was Kenny Clark on the ground?
Well, on the same play I'm speaking of, it was a double team, mind you, but Kenny Clark was on the opposite side of the play, about 5 yards off the ball. And they just continued to get blown off the ball, and they refused to meet, the physical force of the Carolina Panthers.
The Carolina Panthers are not a good football team.
No, in no way, shape, or form. And they didn't have any like-minded response to the force that they were hit with.
Right.
Because, again, it was as simple as Rico Dowdle's teammates saying, hey, man, we got your back.
Right.
Let's go.
We're knocking these guys off the ball. We're going to create some holes for you.
That's it.
You're going to have a day, dude. You're going to have a day.
And the Cowboys refused to respond in kind when they were faced with a tough challenge.
One of the interesting things after the game was Schottenheimer. I thought it was the most revealing thing was he was asked after the game if the Cowboys have the right personnel for the Matt Eberflus defense, and he said unquestionably. And then he was asked, well, is a commitment among the players an issue? And he said, well, that might be the bigger problem. So I think there's a virtual insurrection out there on the defensive side of the ball. It sounds like the players against the coaching staff. And
that's the problem. As soon as I heard Trayvon Diggs say, well, we don't have an identity, that's when I immediately knew. I said, all right, here we go, right? We're going to go down this road that, never is productive, right? Where we're going to start pointing fingers and we're going to have innuendo. And we're going to try and thinly veil what we say with our comments through the media. And, man, it just doesn't work because it's all negativity. And because the way that roster is constructed, man, any negativity, anything pulling the wrong way with that defense, that's why you got what you got. That's why you are the worst defense, in the NFL. And that's what I would say to Trayvon Diggs. Hey, Trayvon, you do have an identity. You're the worst defense in the NFL. That's your identity,
How do
bro.
you have two $90 million corners who are playing 10 yards off
Oh,
on 4th and
oh,
4?
oh. I mean, that was so Hunter Renfrow, who was out of the league last year,
Yeah.
gets the 8 to 10 yard cushion. What is Hunter Renfrow going to run by Deron Bland? Deron, what are you doing? And then again, there was Kenneth Murray was trying to buzz underneath that. I get all that, but what are you doing?
Just get up and play the guy.
Just get up and play ball. Right. And unbeknownst to you, that was the ball game because you guys are so bad, you have no ability to stop Rico Dowdle. He ripped off a 9 yard run after that, just like he had been doing the entire game. He had 15 runs of 7 yards or more, which is a college stat. That's what happens, when LSU, plays directional Louisiana U, right? That's when you get those kind of running back stats. Not
Yeah.
when two NFL teams play each other. It's inexcusable. It's unthinkable. And while I don't think that the Cowboys can fire Matt Eberflus, I just don't think they can. Man, I don't know how you're going to get substantial change. It might be you might get a good game, here every week, but I mean, just trying to make this defense stand up enough for the team to be functional and successful. Man, I don't know. Hey, one, you know me, Ed. I'm always looking for the silver lining. Cowboy fans, silver lining. NFL's a week to week league. You just never know week to week. And you better hope you don't know anything with the first 6 weeks of this season because everything we have seen has led you to believe that this defense will not be able to turn things around.
But except with the exception of the 3 years under Dan Quinn, this is what they've been under 3 different coordinators in the last 6 years. I mean, Matt Eberflus is the 3rd defensive coordinator and the first one without Micah Parsons. He's their 4th coordinator in 6 seasons. Dan Quinn is the only one of those guys who coached multiple seasons, and his teams all finished in the NFL's top 10 in scoring defense each year. On top of all the takeaways, on top of all the pressures and sacks, Mike Nolan and Mike Zimmer were both one and done with the Cowboys. And Eberflus could suffer the same fate, but all 3 of those coordinators, their defenses have ranked 28th or worse in scoring, in points allowed. And so we shouldn't be surprised. Like, Dan Quinn did create an identity. Dan Quinn came in, he got to pick the players he wanted. There was some continuity over time, and he acquired guys who fit the profile of the way he wanted to play. That's not what's happened here.
And like Eberflus, Quinn was actually also the 3rd coordinator in 3 years because Marinelli's last year was 19. Then Mike Nolan had 20. Quinn comes in 21, but he also had that chess piece that allowed him to create that identity by bringing pressure. And whenever the Cowboys got up, that pressure got ratcheted up. Micah goes nuts, and all of a sudden you had a defense that ranked number 7 in the NFL that season because they did have, that identity and something that you could hang your hat on. And listen, we saw that defense struggle late, especially when they couldn't get those leads, and that was the knock on that defense. If they weren't ahead, it was hard for them to get to the play style they liked. But at least he created an identity that worked quite well for a long time. And to see this defense struggle again, you make a great point. With the exception of what Quinn was able to do and how he was able to get through to those guys, it has been wash, rinse, and repeat with the just confounding play of this defense at times.
And to underscore all of it, Dan Quinn's coming here this week.
I know, right? Just to make it come full circle, right?
Quinn like the NFL just created all this defensive drama for the Cowboys so they can sell the Dan Quinn game.
Well, it's scripted, right? It's scripted, right? That's what everybody likes to say. No scripts, folks. It's just the beauty of reality football TV because it's the best reality TV there is. And listen, with Quinn coming in, and with, more importantly, Jaden Daniels coming in, that Commanders team has kind of been up and down, but Daniels back after injury. He's been back the last couple of weeks. Cowboys have got to watch out because with what they've put on tape, he is going to have a field day with this.
You got to play assignment football against this quarterback because he's arguably the best dual threat player in the league right now at the quarterback position. And they run the RPOs. He leads the NFL in zone read runs. And Dan Quinn, like Dan Campbell, is one of those guys who, hey, I'm going for it on fourth down. They lead the NFL in fourth down attempts, in success rate, and in points where they score touchdowns off of a drive that included converting a fourth down. So they're going to make you play 4 downs on defense, which is the last thing Dallas wants to do. They would like to play 3 or less.
No doubt. And then it's interesting, right? Because with what this defense has put on tape, there's been this carryover effect to what I've seen Schottenheimer and the offense do. Because for the first time, I really thought that Schottenheimer changed the way he called that ball game because he was trying to protect his defense.
Couldn't trust his defense.
He couldn't trust him. And the one thing that I've loved about the way that Schotty called these games in the first 5 was the aggression factor was a 10 most of the time out of 10. Right. But you could tell he dialed it back. And when the running game was missing in that game, it made things incredibly difficult for the offense as well. But all Dak Prescott did was throw another 3 touchdown passes, 10 TD passes in the last 3 games. And I don't want to steal your thunder, Ed, because you had the stat from ESPN about the last 3 games that I want you to share, because when I read it, my mind was blown.
Well, in the case of Dak Prescott, he's got 11 combined touchdowns, passing and rushing over the last 3 games, and no turnovers. That's been done 79 times in the NFL, and the Cowboys are the only one of those teams that doesn't have a winning record in that 3-game span. They're also the only team in the NFL to average 30 points with no turnovers across 3 games and have a losing record in that span. They've won 1 game.
That's the one that got me, Ed. I was like, NFL's been going on for more than 100 years, folks. It's never happened until this defense allowed it to happen. And, of course, you got the other crazy stat. The Cowboys are the only team in the league that's scoring 30 points a game and also allowing 30-plus points a game. I mean, these statistical anomalies are just underscore.
They're just piling up on the Cowboys on this franchise.
Well, and it feels like the Mike Nolan year, because you remember, especially early in that year, Ed, when it felt like week after week. Oh my God, another threshold. Oh, that's never happened to the Cowboys.
That's when Dak was throwing for 450 yards 3 games in a row. And like week 3, McCarthy at his press conference with reporters is talking about, we're simplifying the playbook. That's when you knew it was bad. And I kind of get that same sense of what they're talking about right now.
No, I agree.
We're going to give in to the players. We're going to try and get them to do what they do best and see how that works, because what we're trying to do now is not working.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, you feel for Dak and the offense because, like you said, it's changed the way Schottenheimer approaches games, the way he calls plays, the decisions he makes on punting and going for it. And, there is just no margin for error. If you don't score every single time you have the football, you're probably going to lose.
And here's the other thing about Dak that I think, and I found a little bit of a differentiation point as opposed to that awful season with Mike Nolan. And a lot of those Mike Nolan games, the Cowboys would get blown out, and Dak would get a lot of garbage yards and garbage points. That's not the case this year, because a lot of times it's score for score, right? They got blown out once, but again, and Dak didn't even have a great game in that game. But a lot of these games, he's played even better because it's been more of an even footing and hadn't been against as much prevent defense as it was that year. I mean, he's just having to score to keep up and try and keep things going. And for him to continue to do so and play at this level, at the hardest position in the NFL, and for the Cowboys to not see more out of it, man, it's just a travesty. And when you look for reasons why, I mean, you got to look at the roster, and I started looking at along that defensive line. I just started thinking about, Amazi Smith, Marshawn
not even
Nealon.
active yesterday.
Right.
A 7th-round pick in a game where you're prioritizing winning the line of scrimmage and stopping their run game.
Yes.
A 1st-round pick from 2 years ago, Mazi Smith, loses his roster spot to a rookie 7th-round pick in Jay Toya.
It's unbelievable. And when you think about it, even Sam Williams, who was so happy at training camp and he was so highly touted, he hadn't done anything, Ed.
Yeah.
He hadn't done anything. He's played off and he looked yesterday. He looked slow. His hips looked bad. I mean, that's bad. Marshawn Nealon, as we said before, gets walked back by a tight end. I mean, it is, unfortunately, the Cowboys can't draft on the defensive line like they can on the offensive line. Because if they could, they'd be okay. They'd be great. But they
Yeah.
can't. And they are, man, they are paying for those past sins, right? And you think about the linebacking core that has struggled, and Kenneth Murray, Jack Sanborn, of course, he's hurt. They've struggled. A couple of the offseason acquisitions that they missed on, that didn't work. Man, it is. It's rough. I feel bad for Donovan Wilson. It feels like Donovan Wilson is being played out of position.
Yeah. I mean, how bad did he look on that touchdown by
goodness.
McMillan, right?
Oh, my God.
First of all, Bland gives him a free release off the line of scrimmage, and then he turns Donovan Wilson around to the point he's got to put his hands on the ground so he doesn't fall over. And then he's wide open. Like, NFL quarterbacks are not missing these throws.
No. I mean, it's
guys
easy.
are so wide open they can't miss.
No,
even the ones who aren't any good.
No, that's the thing.
Like the guy that played yesterday.
Yes,
Bryce Young, they made him look like Steve Young.
That's a good line. Unfortunately, it's true. I mean, it is. It's true. And like you said, they got Rico Dowdle looking like Emmitt Smith. I mean, to average 6+ yards in the NFL on 30 carries.
Oh, and you're getting 31 yards rushing on your side of the ball? 1.2 yard average or worse in 12 years?
Man, it's hard to fathom, and you just don't know how we got here, other than, call it for what it is. I mean, there was give up in that defense long before they tried to give up that touchdown late in the game to try and get the ball back. There was a lot of give up.
When that's your exit strategy, that's bad. When it's let's let them score and maybe Dak can drive the length of the field, put another touchdown on the board. We go to overtime. We're good at overtime, and maybe we'll win that way.
That's all they had. That was the only card they could play, and unfortunately, they were playing a lot of give up before then too.
Yep.
And it's not just unsound. When you add and when you do wonder how it gets this bad, here's the equation: when you add unsound play to a lack of care given to your job, this is what you get, right? And I think for whatever reason, these players are allowing themselves to put this on tape. They're allowing, and in this league, the tape's going to last forever. Somebody's always going to be able to point to this. I don't know if these players think they've gotten out because they can say, oh, well, XYZ, I got coached this way, and these coaches, don't know what they're doing. Well, whatever the case, for them to get to that point is inexcusable, especially when you have the offense doing what it's doing. George Pickens, a career-high 9 catches, ends up with 168 yards total and a touchdown and a hurdle play that might end up being play of the year, and it wasn't even a TD. I mean, it's
Jake Ferguson's got 4 touchdown catches.
He's got 4 TD catches.
3 games.
He's set records for the first 5 games, with 41 catches going into this game. He tied for the most in the NFL ever through that 5-game span. And it's all just being wasted because that defense just physically and mentally is playing incredibly weak football all around. And it's Cowboy fans, you deserve better. Unfortunately, Ed, I say that too much. It's a line that I always have in my back pocket, and I use it way too much, but I think it's true.
I guess the only hope this week is Washington's playing tonight, so they're going to be on a short week playing on the road, and it's obviously an opponent the Cowboys know well. They played them at the end of last season here and almost won the game. I think McLaurin caught a touchdown pass on like the last play of the game. It was McCarthy's final defeat, as it turned out.
Yep.
And it sounds like they're very encouraged about CeeDee Lamb coming. I mean, you talk about all Dak's done. He's done it for the last 3 weeks without his best receiver.
I know, it's crazy.
And without Kevontae Turpin, who's arguably his 3rd best receiver, and Tyler Booker, they may all come back. That's not where the problem is, right? But maybe we can score 5 more points on that side of the ball and overcome the defense.
Got to score 35. Just you remember way back in the day, coaches used to put 17 on the board. All right, let's get 17 points. We can try and win. I think that number got skewed when the football got more offensive. That number may have been 21, 24. For the Cowboys, that number's 35.
At
All
least.
right, guys. So, that's right. Because 40 wasn't enough. 40 wasn't enough. But you put the 35 on the board for the Cowboys now, and you got to hope. I mean, it's it's unthinkable, Ed. I mean, you and I watched a whole lot of football. And when you start talking about the superlatives in a bad way, the absolutes in a bad way, the way we have with this Cowboys defense, it's incredibly telling. And listen, Matt Eberflus had a couple of top 10 defenses when he was with the Colts
Yep.
before he took over the head coaching job with the Bears. And listen, the Bears was a roller coaster ride, granted, but the guy can coach. Why it's not working here and why it's failing so miserably, I should say, that's it's hard to figure. It's hard to figure what has, like you said, there's obviously an absolute disconnect, and it's hard to find out exactly where that is. But I would hope that against a division opponent, against a team that they know well, and after we, dog cuss them all week, you would hope that there would be a response. But with the way this team doesn't care about the way they play, I don't know if they will or not, Ed.
I would expect Dak Prescott to go in that defensive meeting room and tell him what he wants out of them, and that they got to get it straight. And now's the time. It's almost too late now. You got to do it now. Like, we already blew 2 games because of this. This can't continue to exist. Not going to stand for it. If the coaches aren't saying that, or they don't believe the coaches will back it up, maybe they'll respect it coming from Dak Prescott. And maybe he's already tried that. I don't know.
That's
I
a
know.
good question.
I do know that I asked him, I think you were there,
Yeah.
a week ago Thursday, about how
Yeah.
far his leadership extends. Does it extend to the defensive side of the ball? And he said he does engage with those guys, right? So I just think, like, you got to send a firm message if you're the quarterback of the Cowboys that it's all on your side of the ball right now. And these guys aren't doing everything necessary to succeed in their jobs and doing what they're asked to do.
I don't know if that won't ever come out publicly to
He
us.
won't say it to us.
Yeah, he won't. But you make a good point. I mean, I do think he's got the gravitas, and he's certainly got more than enough skins on the wall to make the statement and say, hey, guys, come on. And I don't know if it's, when you look for answers, I don't know if it's a matter of just everybody checking your ego at the door, and that's coaches and players included. Let's just all just check our egos at the door and see if we can, be vulnerable and come up with some kind of solution-based attack, right? Because you're right, Ed. I mean, they're just about out of time. They've got, these 4 games coming up, and after that, the schedule gets incredibly hard, right? Right now, you think you got Commanders, then you got Broncos,
Arizona,
and then you got
Raiders.
Cardinals and Raiders, right?
Yeah.
So those are 4 games, and if you don't win 3 of those, it feels like it might be church because of just how hard it's going to be when you start thinking about Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, Commanders again. I mean, it is going to be a gauntlet.
Eagles again. You said Eagles, right?
Eagles again. Yes, it's going to be a gauntlet at the end of this season if they don't get it done.
And the
now.
Giants might be
right.
pretty good at the end of the year.
I know the Giants who beat the Eagles, right? So I mean, it has gotten the old Yogi Berra term. It's gotten late early for this
time is now. Time is now. You're going to do something.
Right.
They already blew an opportunity because we felt like you had to be 4-2 at this point, right? You had to beat Chicago. You had to beat Carolina. Instead, you barely beat the Giants at home. You needed overtime to do that. And you beat the Jets, and we found out yesterday that all of the improvement you claimed on defense was really the result of the schedule and putting you against one of the weakest teams in recent NFL history.
And they almost wiggled out of it, Ed, because that's the crazy part about, the inexplicable nature of that, and I'll use a Randy Galloway term, that dog-butted effort. It's inexplicable because you had wriggled your way out of it. They should have been 3-2-1, close to that 4-2 mark that we all said that they needed to have, right? And then if you stack up another 3 wins, all right, at that point, you go down the rest of the season and you say, you know what, we got to play our best football. It's past Thanksgiving. That's when you got to be ramped up and ready to go. We'll see how the cards all play out. We'll see how it fleshes out. And I think most Cowboy fans probably would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
But just playing
now
with food.
I think now you wonder, was last night their best last chance to get over 500 at any point this season?
You might be right. I mean, I don't see them beating Sean Payton's crew this year. Sean has got that team playing really well. He loves Bo Nix, so beating them is going to be tough. The other three games, Commanders have been playing well. We'll see what they do tonight on Monday Night Football. They're leading the Bears 3-0 right now with 8:17 left in the first quarter as we speak. We'll see how they do. Cardinals and Raiders, you have a chance to beat. But after that, man, finding wins is going to be very difficult. Yep. Very difficult. So,
well, they're almost out of time. We're fully out of time.
Fastest 30 minutes in sports. Always great, brother. I appreciate spending time with you. It's the Playbook right here on WFAA Plus. We'll see you next Monday at 7 p.m.